Hello and welcome to the City of Cedar Falls regular City Council meeting of Monday, June 21st. I'm Mayor Pro Tem Simon Harding and I'm filling in for Mayor Rob Green tonight. I will now call this meeting to order. Can we please have a roll call from the Madam Clerk?
Miller.
Here.
DeBoer.
Here.
Cruz.
Here.
Harding.
Here.
Dara.
Here.
Sires.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
All members present.
Thank you. The first order of business is the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of June 7th, 2021. It's been motioned and seconded. It's a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, nay. That passes. Madam Clerk, do we have any agenda revisions tonight?
I have no agenda revisions, Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, with that, we'll go ahead into public forum where the speakers will have up to 5 minutes to speak on topics germane to city business. Is there anyone in the gallery that wishes to come forward and speak? Welcome tonight. Hope you had a good weekend. Please state your name and address for the record.
Mary Jane McCollum, 807 West 2nd. I wanted to make a couple of comments based on the work session last week. I hesitate to bring up one of the issues because it was about parking. So I missed the first 45 minutes of the work session tonight because I sit on the Rental Housing Appeals Board, and we were dealing with an issue of parking. And so I guess I realized that that issue is going to come up again, so I won't add to that, but it was not about public commercial parking, but about private property and issues with new housing starts and condos and so on. So I have some issues about that. The second issue, which is maybe more important to me, and I want to thank Mr. Miller for commenting about, during the visioning process, people spoke up about what they wanted, and you supported the comments they made and what they said, because that's the second issue, and that was the map that was shown shows the issue to be studied for, I don't know what you called it, small, I'm trying to remember the terminology, the area that included West First Street. And one of the things, I was on the visioning, I went to the visioning meeting at the community center, and there were probably 10 or 11 groups of 8 to 10 people. And we all drew up what we envisioned, and then people got up and spoke about what they saw or what they wanted. And one of the issues was what would happen to First Street. And almost every group that spoke, and I think 8 or 9 out of the 12 or 13 spoke about where the demarcation should be between commercial and private residential areas. And almost every group said Walnut Street should be the end of that. But I see on the new map that has been extended another block up to Olive. And I have a question about why that is. If we're going to give credit to what the citizens want, why that extension was made another block. Now, I have my own suspicions that it has to do with the 2 empty lots that the DOT owns on Walnut and First that maybe a developer wants to do something with. But there are 7 houses on that block, and it's all residential. So why all of a sudden are we talking about maybe pushing the commercial district further west? Because I know the 2 houses that sit on the corner of First and Walnut have been owned by the same people for maybe 50 years. And so I think the pushing further west concerns me because it's in my neighborhood. But that was a concern I had because I know what was said at those visioning meetings, and I know that that's not what comes out on that drawn map. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone from staff that could possibly comment on that tonight?
We can take a look into that to see if we can provide some follow-up information about that line of demarcation.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to thank Ms. McCollum for staying involved throughout the whole process. That's what it's all about. So thanks for your involvement and your input tonight.
And please reach out, give me an email, and I'll make sure to get some information and follow up with you as well. Is there anybody else that would like to speak from the gallery?
Good evening. Whoops.
Name and address for the record, ma'am.
Rosemary Beach, 5018 Sage Road, in the Western Home Communities. And I was here, I think, last time or the time before, and I've been here before on First Street and Main Street where they meet. And I asked about doing something about the 40 miles an hour that people drive when they aren't supposed to be driving there to get to the middle of the bridge to get out of town. So I'm here tonight to have somebody tell me if indeed they looked. I understand that for a couple of days they had the trailer up there for mileage. I don't know. I wasn't down that far downtown. So did we have anything on the noise ordinance or the mileage or getting that 40 miles an hour that you have to go when you get to the middle of that bridge? So I'm just here asking if anybody did anything.
Fair enough. Is there anyone here that could provide some information?
I could provide some comment.
Mr. Shragi?
So I've reached out to the DOT multiple times, and I know Director Sheets has over the last couple of years about a sign placement in which Ms. Beach is referencing of a minimum 40 miles an hour. And that's part of their requirement, and we have no control of the state's jurisdiction. So what I'm trying to work on now with the state is an alternative sign that doesn't say a minimum of 40 miles an hour, but maybe something different that doesn't look to the driver that they need to speed up for that intersection. So I'm trying to work with them on that, on an alternative sign. If they cannot move it and put it in a different location, is there an alternative sign that we can put up there? So I'm in the process of that. Another request was a speed study or traffic count in that area. And again, that's a DOT corridor in which we cannot put our equipment out there. I did put a formal request into them to study that area. They have one staff member that does this over the entire state. So what they give for timeframes is 6 to 12 months in which they will provide us the data in which they get from the corridor there. So.
Thank you. What about the audio on that? We asked for an audio take on how loud those trucks and all of that were that was going through that intersection, right?
I'm not familiar with that request.
I think, Jeff, did you say that you could do that, or what? Did I hear wrong?
Well, first of all, we did put the radar trailer out there, so it is out there now in an effort to maybe slow some people down. But that is a temporary measure. Quite honestly, Rosemary, I don't remember the
Well, I
audio
thought that
portion.
I asked for a sound check, how loud those trucks and motorcycles and things are on that corner. And I thought you told me, Bert, you said you couldn't do that. And then I thought you said that night that you did have the facilities to say how loud those cars were traveling, trucks were traveling. I must have heard you wrong.
Yeah, I mentioned the radar trailer, and we can put that out as far as sound goes. We can make some efforts and do some enforcement there, and see what we come up with, but we can do that for you.
Well, the whole thing is that this is our main street, and this is where we want people to turn down it, coming off from the highway either direction. And we want to be able to, I've sat in the theater answering the telephone when I can't hear because the trucks are so loud inside the theater. You know they are in the back porch of Cup of Joe. You can't talk to each other back there. And it seems to me we should have some control over our own intersection in our own town. And with the amount of people that cross that intersection and the amount that's going to when we finally get a water to do in there, it just seems to me we are not being proactive about saying, I know they have rules and DOT has got their rules for this or that, but I do think there must be a workable way of making that a safe place. The bikes that go through there, the kids that go through there, We've got 30 miles an hour.
30
up
seconds
by this-
remaining, Ms. Beach. 30 seconds
Okay,
remaining.
well, but they got in on it too. Okay, anyway, where the kids go to the swimming pool, you can only go 30 miles an hour no matter what you're doing. That's what you're told. Well, we have more people going across that street than we have kids coming out of the swimming pool. It doesn't make common sense. That's my opinion. And I would think that the businesses and the people within Cedar Falls would want to see that it was more control for us for what we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beach. We'll continue to look into it for you, we promise. All right. Is there anyone else from the gallery that wishes to get up and speak tonight? Is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to speak?
I'm not seeing any hands raised.
All right, we'll give it another couple seconds just in case. Looks like nothing, so we will move on, close the public forum, and move on to old business, which is to pass ordinance number 2990, amending Chapter 2, Administration of the Code of Ordinances relative to boards and commissions upon its third and final consideration. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, been motioned and seconded. Is there any questions from council on this? Any questions from the gallery or the public on Zoom?
Seeing none.
All right, well, with that, this calls for a roll call vote.
Six voting aye, one voting nay. Mayor Pro Tem?
All right, that passes and is in effect immediately. All right, there is no new business. It's not immediately, sorry.
When it's published.
When it's published, it will take effect when it's published. There we go. All right, there's no new business tonight, so we'll move on to the consent calendar. All of these items will be acted upon by a voice vote on a single motion without separate discussion unless someone from the council or the public requests that a specific item be considered separately. Is there anyone from council that wishes to pull an item from the consent calendar? Anyone from the public that wishes to pull an item from the consent calendar?
Seeing none in Zoom.
All right, well, I will read these items. Item number 3 is approve the recommendations of the mayor relative to the reappointment of members to boards and commissions. Item 4 is receive and file the work session minutes of June 7th, 2021 relative to the following item, the downtown zoning ordinance. Number 5 is receive and file the committee of the whole minutes of June 7th, 2021 relative to the downtown and College Hill parking policy discussion. 6 is approve the request for a temporary sign at 3409 Cedar Heights Drive, June 22nd through 23rd, 2021. 7 is to approve the applications for cigarette, tobacco, nicotine, and vapor permits. 8 is to approve the applications for beer permits and liquor licenses. Is there a motion to approve these as read?
So moved.
Second? Oh, there we go. Second. This is a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. That passes. We are moving on to the resolution calendar, where all the items will also be acted upon by a roll call vote with a single motion without separate discussion unless someone from the council or public requests that a specific item be considered separately. I am going to pull item 15. Is there anyone else in council that would like to pull an item? Anyone from the public gallery that would like to pull an item? All right. Well, I will read the items minus 15. Number 9 is a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an engagement letter with Eide Bailey LLP to perform the audit of the city's fiscal year 2021 financial statements in compliance with federal award programs. 10 is the resolution approving and authorizing execution of a client authorization to bind coverage relative to renewal of the city's public entity insurance for fiscal year 2022. 11 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of administrative services agreement with Wellmark Blue Cross Blue Shield relative to fiscal year 2022 employee health plan. 12 is a resolution approving a stop-loss policy with Wellmark relative to the city's fiscal year 22 employee health plan. 13 is a resolution approving and adopting revised job classifications. 14 is a resolution approving and adopting the city's fiscal year 2022 payroll resolution. 16 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a first aid service product agreement with the City Laundering Company for fiscal year 22 through fiscal year 2024. 17 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a janitorial products agreement with Laser Tech USA. 18 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a linen services agreement with Aramark Uniform Services for fiscal year 22 through 24. 19 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of an office supply and copy paper product agreement with Laser Tech for fiscal year 22 through 24. 20 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a uniform products agreement with Serviceware Apparel fiscal year 22 through 24. 21 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a service product agreement with Civic Plus LLC relative to the recreation management software. 22 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of 2 extensions of leases and 2 new Red House Studio leases relative to the use of 224 West Searly Boulevard as artist studio space in conjunction with Her Center's Visiting Artist Program. 23 is a resolution approving and authorizing submission of a Round Trust grant application to the Cedar Falls Community Foundation by the Historic Preservation Commission. 24 is a resolution approving and accepting a lien notice and a special promissory note for property located at 619 Clay Street relative to the rental to single-family owner conversion incentive program. 25 is a resolution approving a second amendment to deed of dedication of the Arbor's first edition. 26 is a resolution approving and authorizing the expenditure of funds for the purchase of a dump truck and components for Public Works Department. 27 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a stormwater maintenance and repair agreement with Aldi Incorporated relative to a post-construction stormwater management plan for 219 Brandolin Boulevard. 28 is a resolution receiving and filing the bids and approving and accepting the low bid in the amount of, wow, that's a lot of money, $265,163.35 for the West 27th Street Sanitary Sewer Extension Project. Resolution number 29 is setting July 6, 2021 as the date of the public hearing on a proposal to undertake a public improvement project for the West 27th Street Reconstruction Project and authorize acquisition of private property for said project. 30 is a resolution receiving and filing and setting July 6, 2021 as the date of a public hearing on the proposed plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the Cyber Lane Extension Project. And 31 is the resolution setting July 6, 2021 as the date of public hearing on the fiscal year 2022 annual action plan for the Community Development Block Grant and Home Consortium. Is there a motion to approve these all as read?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Is there any discussion on the items? Any discussion from the public? Well, this will require a roll call vote.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor Protem.
Thank you. All right, item 15 is a resolution approving and adopting the city's fiscal year 22 fee schedule. I was the one that pulled this because I had a question.
Motion to
Move
approve.
approval.
Oh, sorry, thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
And seconded.
Second.
Thank you. Motion and seconded. I was the one who pulled this, so I will ask a question. My question was, on page 336, there was a character district, commercial and multifamily 2+ units reviewing. It's a new fee based on the new downtown zoning code map for character districts. I was wondering why this was in the actual new fee schedule, because we haven't actually approved the new code map and zoning, and was wondering if it would be possible, if we're putting the cart before the horse, to get some more comment on why that one ended up in there.
Sure, we did put it in there just anticipating that the downtown zoning ordinance would continue forward and possibly be adopted around September, October timeframe. And if it's not adopted, then this doesn't apply at all because we don't have anything in place to apply it. So we can choose to keep it in there so that we're ready once that's adopted and don't have to come back and amend this later, or we could do it now. But until the character districts are adopted, this isn't going to apply to anything.
If we let's say that it didn't pass, or the new ordinance changed somehow where this was not applicable, would we need to go back and amend the policies and take it out then, or would we just leave it there? As what would we do in that situation?
Well, this is like a site plan review. So, we explained that many projects, whether they formally go through the site plan review process of P&Z or whether they go through a staff level review, there is time and expense involved in that. And so that's what this fee would be setting up to try to cover a portion of that time.
I would
Did I
add,
answer it? Or-
It does.
I would add that if for some reason the ordinance wouldn't pass, we just leave it off next year's schedule, but as it stands, it wouldn't apply to anything.
Are there any other council members that have questions about this item?
It seems strange to put something on as a fee that we don't have. It seems like we might be better off to leave it off and then add it back in once it.
If we decided to amend this and took this specific item out, would it be easy to, when everything passes with the downtown stuff, it would be easy to add it in?
We sure can. We would just come back with a separate resolution just for those fees only. So we could sure do that.
Is there a timing issue in that regard? I mean, say we get to the point where, say, the downtown plan is approved and somebody's waiting to have a site plan review or something, do we end up in a situation there?
We would probably just schedule that at the third reading of the ordinance, we would have the fee resolution on.
Well, as the presiding officer, I can't make any motions, but I would entertain a motion if anyone wanted to amend the item.
Oh, before we do that, can I?
Go ahead.
But
Yeah.
what does it hurt? I'm trying to understand. I think what you're saying is you're trying to save, in the end, staff time, which is taxpayer money, right? Is that what I'm understanding, or what was the reason for it being on there?
Since we try to do any fee updates once a year, we just thought it might be good to propose it at this time. It's not necessary. It can be done with a resolution when the ordinance passes too.
So does it hurt anything by taking it off, or it's just kind of a null? If we go with whatever, it's okay doing whatever?
We'll just have to remember it later.
Okay.
Not hearing anything?
I will make a motion to strike that since it's not technically relevant, if that's what I'm hearing.
I'll second that.
Been motioned and seconded. Any discussion on the motion of removing that clause from the fee schedule? All right, well, this is a vote on a motion, so it's a voice vote. All in favor of the motion to strike that aspect of the fee schedule, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
I'll need a show of hands. All in favor, say aye. Can you raise your hand? All right, nays, raise your hand. 4-3, so that motion passes. So now we will go back and we will be voting on, let me pull it up here, the fee schedule with that item removed. Is there any discussion, further discussion from council on this? Is there any discussion from the public on it?
Nothing in Zoom.
All right, well, this will require a roll call vote.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. All right, that concludes the resolution calendar. So now we will move over to bills and claims. I'll take a motion to allow the bills and claims.
So move.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there anyone who has any questions on the bills and claims? All right. Well, this requires a roll call vote.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. All right, that moves us over to city council referrals. Is there any council members who wish to make a referral tonight? All right, city council updates. Anyone have any updates?
Mr. Mayor,
Father's Day? Yes, sir.
I want to give a special shout out to our community playhouse. They performed Mamma Mia. It was absolutely fantastic. The cast and crew was phenomenal. And special shout out to my neighbors, Megan and Pat. They were co-directors. They had just gotten married in December and did a fantastic job. And we're very fortunate to have that great community playhouse here in Cedar Falls.
I agree, thanks. Any other council members have anything to say?
It's more of a question to staff. So,
Sure, go ahead.
To Ms. Beach's concern, are there ever any circumstances where the city and the state can actually sit down and make some common sense decisions about speed limits and that? I share her concern about in the days when I used to water plants downtown, even crossing Main Street with the traffic coming lickety-split down there and all that traffic there, it does seem pretty unnerving to try to cross there. So I'm just wondering if the state ever negotiates any of that stuff. Could we have a talk with them about changing that speed limit or some safety measures?
Yeah, we'll continue to have discussions with them and see what we can do with the signage or anything that'll help improve it, yes.
Do you think there's any chance of that? That's more the question, probably. I know you're making your effort, but...
We'll keep trying.
Or does a council action make a difference or anything?
Is it possible for us to get like a contact? So if we wanted to send an email or contact somebody as a representative, we could?
Sure, I can provide some contacts for the DOT, yep.
That'd be awesome.
I have a kind of a follow-up question to what Frank was alluding to. As far as the noise goes and the nuisance, how does that work? Is it too loud there? I mean, is that possible? Or what are the rules there?
Well, there are some city ordinances that reference noise in certain locations of town, whether it be vehicular traffic, construction, that there's some decibel levels, and there's also the reasonableness of an officer on what may be considered loud, but sometimes that's a little more difficult to prove in court. But we can, I'm just guessing at this point that maybe vehicles are accelerating and some of those trucks or motorcycles can be loud when they do that. So I'm wondering if they're not accelerating. So maybe we can give it some police attention and just see if we can come up with some ideas as well and work with Public Works on that.
Thanks. Councilmember Cruz?
Along that same lines, Director Schrage, is there a traffic count that we would see that we would want to entertain a pedestrian overpass of some sort somewhere along? Because if we have the, what's that called, the Great Bicycle Trail,
Great Rail Trail?
Great River Trail, and then the water feature, we're going to get a lot of traffic and the popularity of that. Some communities have kind of interesting pedestrian overpasses and lookout points of the river and so on and so forth.
That would be something I could request through the DOT when the time comes. If the pedestrian counts get high enough that it may warrant it, that would be something the DOT would need to look at, yes.
Should we start a couple years ahead of time and ask for that? Just saying.
I have another question for staff real quick. I can do that afterwards. Are there any other questions? All right, seeing none, we'll go to the staff updates then.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I don't have a whole lot today, but the one thing that I would just like to make the council aware of is we are seeing with some of our construction projects now, some shortage on materials. And we just had a project that, sanitary sewer project that we received no bidders just because of some of those projects. The DOT did send out a letter, and all DOT projects expect delays because of the shortages. So don't have a whole lot of information for you right now, but we may be scheduling a committee meeting in the future just to explain how maybe some of these are or are not affecting our projects.
Thank you. All right. Well, with that, it looks like we are concluding, so I will take a motion to adjourn. It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.